Hey everybody, Shawn Tubbs here. Welcome back to my studio. Sorry it's been a minute since I've done any pedal demos. I've been out touring and doing sessions and such, but I do have a pedal to show you today. This one is made by PettyJohn Electronics and it's called the PettyDrive. It's a 2-channel overdrive pedal. The right side of the pedal is called chime, the left side of the pedal is called iron. Let's just real quick go over just the knob layout. I know it looks like there's a lot going on here, but it's really pretty easy to figure out. At the very top right of the pedal, you've got gain control. The knob just below that is the output, and the knob on the bottom is EQ. And it's a tilt style EQ. In other words, when you roll the knob to the left, you're going to get more lows, less highs. When you roll the knob to the right, you're going to get more highs, less lows. That's a very musical sounding circuit. I really enjoyed working with that. On the left side of the pedal, it's a very similar layout. The top left knob is gain. The knob just below that is your output for that channel. And the knob on the bottom, the only difference is it's a high cut instead of an EQ. So if you're dialing in a solo sound and say you've got a fairly bright amp and you just want to take some hair off, you can use the high cut to do that. And it's a very musical sounding circuit. There's a knob at the very top of the pedal. That knob is in the top center of the pedal. And that knob is a blend knob for the parallel effects loop. So you can see here that you can plug in pretty much whatever you would like. You could plug in, say, a delay. You could plug in another overdrive pedal or even an Octavia style pedal. And what's cool about it is because it is a parallel effects loop, you could actually blend in, say you had a really cool solo sound dialed in and you wanted to just dial in a little bit of like an Octavia sound into it, just kind of roll it in. That would be really cool and it would work quite well. Or if you have a delay that's mixed all the way wet and you want to be able to roll that in, works really well too. And keep in mind that the effects loop only works on the iron side, not the chime side. Let's look at the switches now. They're once again very intuitive. The switches on the top left and right are basically just different styles of clipping. You can choose between 3 on either side of the pedal. The switches on the bottom are actually low cut switches. So you can once again choose the amount of low end you would like, from really tight to maybe just a little bit of low in there to open low end. And of course it's true bypass switching for both channels. There is a switch in the center that toggles left and right, and that just changes the order of the 2 channels. So you can have the chime into the iron or the iron into the chime depending on your preferences. So yeah, this is a very versatile, really open sounding pedal. I love the fact that it's actually really very passive in how it dials, and we'll get into that once we get into the actual demo of the pedal. But yeah, without further ado, let's see what you guys think of this pedal. It's the PettyJohn Electronics PettyDrive. Okay, you guys, let's dig into this PettyDrive by PettyJohn Electronics. I'm going to use my awesome Dave Grissom PRS guitar into my divided by 13 FTR 37 amp. Let's just start with the clean tone. Keeping it dialed nice and clean so we can make the box do the work. You'll notice in the inset shot there's a box that's blue. That's actually the pre-drive. We're not going to focus on that just yet. We're going to be looking at the red box, which is the PettyDrive. Later on in the video, I'll show you how the pre-drive interacts with the PettyDrive. Okay, so once again, here's a clean tone. And let's start with the chime side on the PettyDrive. I was really impressed with the chime side. It's really open and spread out sounding and super organic. And that's what I used at the top of the song with that little PRS Vela guitar. It works so well. In the neck position, it was nice and clean, but then when I threw it to the bridge, I got all the grit I wanted. Even with this guitar, what was I doing? Sorry, I hit my volume. So that was just throwing back and forth between the front and back pickups. Is really expressive. Sorry, I hit my volume pot when I was trying to gank the switch back there. Let's just check out the gain sweep real quick on this guy. Here's the gain all the way to the left. So you could use this thing as just a clean boost. We could turn up the output. And that sounds really great, really natural. Let me go ahead and start sweeping the gain now. So even with that much gain, with it all the way up, all the first position chord stuff sounds really clear and really nice. Now where I kept it was more backed off, because I felt like being able to combine the channels, and with the second channel having more gain, there was no reason to keep that super gainy, because I've got way more on tap on the other side of the pedal. So there's the gain sweep. Let's just check out the tilt EQ real quick. It does exactly what you think it does. As you sweep it all the way to the left, you're going to get more lows, less highs. When you sweep it to the right, you're going to get more highs and less lows. So this is all the way to the left. But you get the idea. It reminds me of a pedal that a lot of Nashville guys are using that has the same style of EQ, but this one is really, really musical. It's a lot more enjoyable to use for me. Really nice. Let's look at the clipping. Now, in this case, it depends on how you have the pedal set, but the clipping, I'm not sure, if which diodes or what he's using. I don't know if it's diodes but just find the setting you like. How's that? At the end of the day, we're guitar players. We turn switches and click things until we dig it. So that's the thing to do with this pedal. Right now, the clipping switch is in the center. Let's move it to the top. Okay, so that's a little bit smoother, a little bit less gain, but you don't have as much lows. But that's what's great, is the switch on the bottom is a low cut switch. So right now, it's pretty much got the lows all the way out. So if you're kind of missing lows, now you're back where you needed to be. So that's like a smoother sound. But still with the lows. So now I'll throw the switch down, the clipping switch. So that's a little more honky. And same thing, if you're feeling like, oh man, I need the low end. I like the barky mids, but I need the lows. Well, you can add the lows back in. And what I really dug about this, and it was something I mentioned in the talking points, is that this pedal is very passive in how it dials. You know, so many pedals on the market are really, really active, and they've got this really narrow sweet spot, and that's where it sounds great. The slightest tilt right or left, and now you're out of the sweet spot, and really not all that usable. With this pedal, I'm finding you're pretty much already there with minimal tweaks to get just that, you know, right to the edge of what you want. You know, or I guess I should say you're right on the edge of what you want, and one little tweak gets you there. So it's a much broader sweet spot, which I really appreciate. Okay, so real quick, we'll just do the low cut switch, which is on the bottom here, and give you guys an idea of what's going on with that. So there's more low end. When it's in the center, it's got the least amount of low end. If you move it up, it's got just a little more low end, which is super usable in a session. And like I said, it's like one quick move and you're done, you're there, which is really cool, especially when you start changing your clipping up top. I mean, so many killer tones just throwing these switches back and forth is really great. So that covers the chime side. Now let's go ahead and check out the iron side. Now the iron side is definitely more of a Marshall kind of gain. It's certainly more aggressive, and it's a lot more overdrive. So just for reference, there's the clean amp, and then here's the iron side of the PettyDrive. So definitely more gain there on tap. And speaking of gain, let's just check that out real quick. I'll roll the gain all the way off. Same kind of situation again, where you could shut that off and it still, you know, sounds girthy, still sounds natural. It's not like we lost something, you know. I really dig that. Let's go ahead and start rolling the gain up. So it's not like insane amounts of gain, but it's certainly plenty of gain on tap. I used it kind of more at around 12 o'clock for the gain, for the solo passes on that opening thing. And the only thing I did is when I switched from this guy to that R9 Paul, because it has those beautiful low whine Lollars, they're less output than this pickup. So I did kind of reach over and add just a little bit more gain, but I didn't touch anything else because I wanted you guys to hear how the box responds to just a different guitar input. And it's really nice. And once again, this is a very kind of passive box, which I totally dig. Okay, so let's check out the EQ on this. Now this is actually just a high cut. And it's pretty subtle and pretty passive in design. I'll show you kind of what I mean. Like right now, that's a pretty sweet tone, but you may think, it's got just a little too much hair up top or a little too much kind of fizz. We can start cutting into that. Which is so cool. And once again, that's very subtle, but at the same time, it works really well, especially if you're going to start getting into different clipping situations. So once again, here's the wide open. Now we'll start cutting highs. that's one of those things I struggle with for solo sounds is a lot of boxes, they just kind of end up sounding fizzy when you get to a certain amount of gain. And where that's voiced as far as the frequency it's cutting, it really helps with that without all of a sudden making everything sound filtered up top. So now we'll check out the clipping up top, and the same thing, I'm not sure what's going on in there. Whatever it is, it's really great, and just pick what you dig. Like that's pretty smooth. Really great for that, you know, if we wanted more bite up there with that kind of clipping, there it is. So that was a clipping switch up. Now let's move this clipping switch down. We had it in the center when we started. So it's the same thing. It's a little more barky, a little more mids. That sounds great too, and we haven't even addressed using the same low cut circuit that's on the bottom, or switch. There's a switch in the center. Here's a switch down, which is going to have the most amount of low end. In other words, it's not cutting any lows. And then here's the switch up, which is just cutting a little bit of lows. So really helps, like if you got an amp that's kind of tubby in the low end, it'll fix that. If you got an amp that needs a little more low, it's going to fix that. And once again, it's passive, you know, it's not super active. And I think that's why it ends up sounding so good. And they put a lot of really, there's no cheap components on this box whatsoever. And that's, you know, you get what you pay for, certainly. So I liked it with the clipping in the middle and the low cut switch down. Okay, so real quick, I'm just going to turn on the other side because you can use both channels together. And I'm not even going to get into tweaking all the switches again because this could turn into a 24-hour video because there's so many things you could do. But this just gives you an idea what this guy will do. So there's off. So you can just dial for days on this thing. Now the last thing I want to bring into this is it's got an effects loop that you can blend in parallel. And I thought what might be cool, instead of doing a typical delay or something like that, is to actually just get like a fuzz box. So I've got this old Experience pedal I've had for, 17 years, something like that. So I dug it out just to kind of bring it in. There's a switch on the back that engages the loop. So, and keep in mind, it only works on the iron side of the box. So let me hit this switch. So now I'm blending fuzz in. So if I roll the knob all the way to the right, it's that center knob that does the blend. That's just the PettyJohn. Now I can start adding the Experience pedal. I thought thought that was such a killer feature, you know, and there's guys that, you know, especially in Nashville, a lot of guys are using like a Boss GE7 and they're using that to kind of tweak in their solo tones. Well, it's perfect on this, man. You just plug it into the loop. It's in parallel. You can actually blend it in as opposed to just having it in the circuit in series. And it, once again, just gives you all these dialable things, you know. Switch it to an octave kind of setting too. So really great idea. I was so impressed with that. Okay, the last thing I want to just show you really quick is the PreDrive. Now the PreDrive is basically designed to kind of be an always-on box, and it's really nice sounding. And we can get into a more in-depth demo of that later. But let me just do a real quick the way it's dialed right now. So here's the amp. Here's the first side of the pedal. There's some EQ on there, and you can hear that it kind of gives it just a little bit more sweetness, a little more grit. And then the second side of the channel engages a boost. Sorry for the supernova when I turn the other side on. It's just what it's doing on my camera. So let's turn on the chime side of the PettyDrive. And you can hear how it works with the right side of the PreDrive. So there's off. So I'm giving it basically just a little more grit. You could see that I was dialing it in so that it wouldn't totally change the actual tone, but just kind of give it more grit. And once again, we can go into more depth on this pedal later. And I can turn on the boost side. So there's a ton of tones without even going into the iron side. Now we can do the same thing with the iron side. You know, so many different tones you can get out of this setup. I mean, you almost don't need anything else on your board if you've got these two pedals. So that's pretty much it, man. One thing that I do need to point out is both of these pedals require a little bit more voltage. Like the PettyJohn, the PettyDrive, it will take anywhere from 9 to 12 volts DC, but what it really likes to see is 12 volts. And I agree, it sounds best at 12 volts because it's got components in there that love a little more bite from the wall. The PreDrive actually likes to see anywhere from 18 to 24 volts. And it used to be everybody would just get into a panic like they were going to lose a limb when they heard about higher voltage stuff because they didn't know how they were going to power it. And honestly, that is true. I was kind of that guy. So the visual sound guys are just right down the street from me, and now they're called Truetone. And of course, they build great pedals, but they're also famous for the one spot, which is a really nice just wall wart. But they've started making power supplies, so I was able to get one of their new one spot pros. It's called the CS7. to basically power all this stuff. So what it gave me is it gave me my 18 volt for the pre-drive, it gave me my 12 volt for the PettyDrive, and it also gave me my 9 volt for the experience pedal, but you still also have 2 more 9 volts that are 500 milliamps, so if you're a Strymon guy, it covers that, plus you still got 2 more 200 milliamps on tap. So kudos to them. I mean, these guys really know power, and when you've got really fine components built into boxes like these, you really do need higher voltage. So that's a big problem solver. So I wanted to give a shout out to them because it made doing this demo considerably easier. So anyways, man, that's pretty much it with the 2 boxes. They're both fabulous boxes. They're built really well. If you've got any questions, I'll put up the website for PettyJohn, and you can ask away. And as always, thanks for checking out my videos, and I look forward to making another one for you guys soon. All right, take care.